Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, in all forms of art, it's important to push the boundaries of storytelling to create something unique and something genuinely special. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brains on not only current projects, but state of the industry, how they got started, and all sorts of fun stuff in between. And if you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, and, well, we certainly hope that you would, because you're listening right now, you can do that over at Apple, over at Spotify, or you can find every single one of our episodes archived over at our YouTube channel. Also, we'd love it if you'd follow us on social media. You can do that over at In the Seats, or at It's Podcast One on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for all sorts of updates. And finally, and as I like to say, most importantly, please come give us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, where our hardworking team is cracking away on all sorts of movie news, reviews, interviews, from festivals and things playing on VOD and streaming services and home entertainment and theatrical, where there are such things. They would love your eyes on our product, and I know they'd appreciate it, and I would too. But that kind of dovetails into this episode. We've got a good one. We are talking with writer-director Gavin Michael Booth and star Sarah Booth of the new movie Last Call, which is hitting all VOD platforms as well as DVD and Blu-ray today. Yeah, things still come out on DVD and Blu-ray, boys and girls, believe it or not. This thing happens. But it is... Last Call is a really interesting emotional experiment because it is a real-time film about a man in crisis and a woman on the other end of the phone trying to sort of save a life and sort of prevent something horrible from happening in these days of mental health issues and everything that's going on in the world. It plays rather poignantly, and as much as you can hear me say some movie that's shot in real time and think it's just a gimmick, but it is a little, but it really goes much more beyond that. And the way Gavin and Sarah and their entire team put it together was really an amazing feat. And we talked to Gavin and Sarah about that, about as an actor preparing for a movie that happens in one take, and so very much more. And I think we had a pretty good talk, so I hope you enjoy it. Obviously, just to start it off, I just want to say congratulations on the film, man.
Thank you.
I did thoroughly enjoy it, but I mean, I'm kind of curious because, I mean, especially at first glance, there is the gimmick of it that people will sort of gravitate on. But I mean, I found the further I got into it, the more I was like, oh shit, this is going way beyond the gimmick and just how everything was set up. Can you walk me through just sort of the initial sort of inspiration for the story?
Yeah, the idea is, it's unfortunate every once in a while there's a one-take movie and people go, oh, the gimmick, or a long-take fight scene. I don't even necessarily agree with people calling those films a gimmick, because I think it's just another tool, the same way you could film in black and white, or you choose your lenses, or you choose to film in slow motion or whatever. It's a tool that the filmmakers have. And sort of our idea, David Wilkins, who co-wrote the film, co-stars with Sarah in the film and produced it with me, he brought the idea to me. He said, I had this idea, like Man Called Suicide Hotline. We do it in a single take. He knew that I loved single take music videos and had done a couple single take short films. And, the idea being that for us, the single take, never breaking a cut, sort of never lets the audience, the tension never drops. You don't ever fade out and fade back in later. You never cut away from the action. So you're sort of the idea was to put people in the driver's seat of Beth's character as she's dealing with Scott on the phone and never knowing if everything she says is the right or the wrong thing to even say or respond. You're sort of hanging on every moment. We just felt that the single take thing and the split screen, being able to see both sides of that story and play, would be the most interesting way to, even though challenging to create, would be the most interesting way to have that story unfold.
Now, I mean, walk me through how you did it, because I mean, obviously as much as you can without giving too much away, because it's very obvious. Like I said, once you really get into the story, it's like, no, this isn't in post. They're actually synced up.
Yeah. So the idea is, because it's split screen, a lot of people ask us, did you film one side of it first, then the other side? I mean, we could have done it that way, but it'd be very unfair to this. The second actor who had to go to memorize all of the lines and know the exact pacing. So the way it was done is we actually had two separate camera teams in two different parts of the city. One was filming on David Scott's side of the story, and the other was following Sarah. So I operated the camera on David's side. Seth Wessel Estes, our cinematography, did Sarah's side of the story. And we had, a sound crew and everything separate. So we would basically say action, and the whole film would play out with both crews working remotely. Sarah and David are actually acting over the telephone. And that's how they hear themselves. And then we put the movie together that way. So rehearsing it, we just would rehearse half a day on Sarah's side of the story, half the day on David's side of the story, and kind of keep going back and forth until we felt comfortable and had all blocking lined up. And then we would film every single rehearsal. We could only afford 10 days of rehearsal, 4 days to actually shoot the movie. So we'd film every rehearsal because it allowed us to like sit back at night and watch every single take. And then the camera crew, the lighting, props, the actors, all of us could look at the tape and make adjustments and things before we went into tomorrow's rehearsal or tomorrow's filming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm curious, Sarah, from your perspective, because for a film as unique as this, it feels like you'd have to prepare for it almost like a stage play.
Exactly. That's exactly when the guys told me about the project. It's an actor's dream. You get to just go for 75 minutes and not stop. Anything can happen, and things did happen. So it's terrifying, but it also, similar to how Gavin feels about the one takes, terrifying, but like you feel so alive when you're doing it. And when you cut like that, like the blood flowing back to your body is just like the greatest feeling in the world.
And for me, it was get this 60-pound camera rig off my damn shoulder and back. Yeah.
How many takes did you ultimately end up doing?
So we had 4 days to film. The goal was to film 2 takes each night for those 4 nights. We managed to get 5 complete takes of the movie. So there are technically 4 alternative versions of the movie that exist on a hard drive somewhere, which was shocking. We thought if we got one, we were going to be super happy, but we actually had options to choose, because then we had to sit down and decide which one of these 5 takes was our collective best between all departments. Like which one has the best focus, which one has the best acting and story were always forefront, but you're trying to level out, between like you would in any take in any movie in any scene, just a much longer take that we're trying to review and pick the best one.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, do you think a movie like this can be done outside of, say, the married family setting? Because I mean, I can imagine on take 4 for you, Sarah, there must have been days where it's like, fuck you, I'm done. I'm exhausted.
Oh yeah. Honestly, sometimes the night that we had got this version of the movie, we usually would do it twice a night, which was very taxing for everyone. So when we got that take, we all kind of looked at each other and we said that we're done. Let's go home and sleep. We'll try one more tomorrow. Maybe it'll be better, but if it's not this, we felt confident, that we had at least gotten quite a few in the can.
Yeah, I mean, obviously both Sarah and David have such emotional stakes in the movie, and not being able to be like, okay, can we just cut and go again so I can work up to that.
Gosh. When you said let's go home, watch, and have a glass of wine, I was like, yes.
So I think there's, but also, we ended up changing 30 something pages of the script. The script is actually only 52 or 55 pages long, because shorter than your traditional 100-page screenplay, but we have what we call like an accordion effect, where when Scott's character has to walk from one location to another, some nights that would take 4 minutes, some nights that would take 8 minutes. So we kind of had a bit of an accordion effect of how long the movie would be. So the actual dialogue and paper version of the script is 50 pages, and we changed 30 some pages of the script after we finished our last rehearsal, before we started shooting the movie, because Sarah actually kept coming to us and saying, this element of the story doesn't work. I don't even believe my own character taking this path. And, again, I don't want to spoil anything about the plot, but David and I had to kind of have a come to Jesus moment amongst ourselves and sit down and be like, our choices are, because a one take movie, you can't edit, you can't change anything in post, you can't reshoot anything later, like traditional movies. we had to live with it and hope that what we originally wrote worked, or we had to crack a bottle of whiskey and stay up all night and rewrite 30 pages. And then I had to wake Sarah up and say, hey, here's your coffee this morning and 30 new pages to memorize by 5 p.m. when we start filming tonight.
Yeah.
It's a wild experiment, but I mean, it works, and it really captures sort of the emotion of the moment. And I'm kind of curious from both your perspectives, because you can't make a film like this on a studio job. It's got to be an independent production, because no one sort of at a different kind of level would sort of finance this, because the machinations would be impossible. It's got to be a smaller shoot. How does having that opportunity to sort of, tackle these creative challenges sort of keep you both going?
I'll go first.
I mean, for me, I'm lucky enough that I work, on studio projects and on big TV shows. But also it's these projects that I really get to shine. Let's be honest, when I book something on a TV show, it's a guest star, or I'm there for a couple episodes and then it's see you later, you serve the plot and away you go. But to be able to create with Gavin, it's just like we get to take all our strengths and put them right at the forefront. And every time we've made an independent project together, it's been the thing that's like really catapulted us forward. So it keeps us happy, but it also keeps, I think, pushing our careers in the studio world forward.
And you're not wrong. David and I, like a very short period of time, we started going to traditional funding sources and saying like, hey, we want to do this real-time movie. It's going to be 2 movies. We have to not only make one single take movie, we have to make 2 of them at the same time, and everything has to go perfect. And people, financiers were like, I can't. Such a gamble. And so we ended up scaling it way back. We shot it here where we are today in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's my home city. So, our budget was, like peanuts compared to probably the catering budget or the coffee budget daily of a Transformers movie or something. And we just, we pulled every favor we could, like the location that the character Beth is in, the college, that's St. Clair College, that worked with us to make it happen. The apartment, the bar is actually owned by Matt, who plays the bartender in the movie. So he happened to be an actor who spent time in LA and in movies and TV shows, and just happened to own that's actually my favorite bar. And David sat in the movie at my bar stool whenever I go there. So it was just it was a labor of love. And once David and I sort of stripped away all of the if we had done it on a larger budget or had much more financial responsibility, that allowed us to take more risks. And by the nature of having less money, we had a much smaller crew, which I think for this project streamlined it. We've been, in doing press and talking about the film recently, we've realized it would have been a perfect pandemic project because your actors are socially distanced. You've got a very minimal crew on either side of it. It would have been, we need to write another movie like
Last
this. Last Call 2. First Call, it's a prequel.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I mean, I'm kind of curious, how has the response been? Because, I mean, if you put a tagline on the poster for this from the director of Scarehouse, it's definitely a bit of a... How has the response been to making this very intense human drama?
Well, from peers, it's been fabulous. From anyone a little bit more above in the business, a lot of confusion. Definitely a lot of confusion.
Yeah, it is an industry that likes to try to pigeonhole you. And you're the, I did Scarehouse and then immediately followed up with the experimental Blumhouse thing. And it's you're the horror guy. I'm like, I love horror movies. I'll probably make some more horror movies, but I also love Westerns and I love rom-coms. And I hope to kind of do it all. But, for our film, we took the festival path. We went out to, a handful of festivals, and we were just hoping to be at festivals and get some audience reaction. And it ended up garnishing us with quite a number of awards and best feature pickups. And the reviews have largely been kind of through the roof for the movie. So the responses, what's very interesting and I didn't expect was, we made a movie that mental health is at the center of this movie.
Yeah.
And David had the intuition much better than I, where he said, what, this movie, if we do it well, might be like a speaking point at some point. Maybe this could actually help or become educational in some way.
For sure.
And I was much more I'm just a writer. I'm going to research the topic as we're writing it. and I'm going to try to learn everything I can and get it accurate. I said, but I don't feel comfortable putting it out in the world saying like, we made a mental health movie that everyone should watch. And it's,
Right.
you know, that's not my decision to make, but through a friend of Sarah's in LA who works as a therapist and also works with a few of the studios, helping them when they have actors that have to go through emotionally traumatic scenes, and also was part of the decision making of the 13 Reasons Why when they decided to remove the suicide scene.
Right.
She was kind enough to screen our film and vet the film for us and say that no, this could work, which has opened up an avenue now. Like when we had our premiere, our hometown premiere in Windsor, we were able to raise, you know, a significant amount of money for the Canadian Mental Health Association that night. And now we're able to kind of like move forward and have some other nonprofit sectors or nonprofit entities to work with, which is really rewarding, that to ever have a film that could also contribute in a positive way to society. But for me, the hardest thing to get used to was complete strangers who had just seen the film, maybe watched our Q&A, come up to me in the lobby of a theater somewhere in America or internationally after it's screened at a festival, and just open up their heart to me about their personal struggles with suicide or mental health, or family members that had taken their lives. And at first I was like, I felt like Beth in the movie where I'm like, I don't know what to say, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you know, it's that connection of like, these are the people who made the film. And I felt very emotionally attached to watching the movie. So I feel most comfortable approaching them and having that conversation. And it's honestly led to some very eye-opening, wonderful like friendships, and just, you know, I've always known that mental health is, you know, it's a bigger issue than most of us ever realized the last 10 years. And we're still only starting to put the spotlight on it. But it's really been eye-opening for me that like the message of my film of just, if you just stop and listen to somebody else, you might do a lot for them that you don't even realize they just need, you know, someone to listen to. So my level of like kindness to strangers and people around, especially during a pandemic, the poor people have to work at the restaurants I'm ordering from, or delivery people, like just taking a moment to be extra friendly. Like I think it's so overlooked in life that we could all just do a little bit more of that and never know what that ripple impact is out there in the world.
No, and you're absolutely right. I mean, especially these days, I mean, stories matter. And I mean, that's why you become a storyteller, because you want to be able to tell something that's going to make a genuine connection to people. And I think this film really does. Now, I'm kind of curious because, especially in this business, we're always fans first, right? Like that's just a given. And I'm curious for both of you, is there a moment sort of in the past or even a movie where you just went, okay, this is it. This is what I got to do?
Oh man, that comes early for me. I mean, there's two. It's you know, I was born in the late '70s, so I'm a child of the Spielberg, Lucas era of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, you know, I was making Lego stop motion things on my dad's 8mm camera from the beginning. So I sort of like knew what I wanted to do before I even understood it was a career path. But the big thing for me was like seeing a movie like Clerks for the first time and El Mariachi and being like, why does this look so cheap compared to what I'm used to? You know, not understanding what an independent film was, or that there was a way to make a movie that didn't mean you had to move to LA and didn't like. So for me in high school, when those films started coming out, I was like, I can max out my credit card and get $25,000 and go make a movie. I don't recommend it because I failed miserably at it, and nobody should ever watch that film. And I didn't win Sundance. I didn't get into Sundance. It's a lot harder than you would think, but yeah, it was really like Clerks is a very like that I can specifically remember watching a movie and being like, I want to do that. I was already making little videos in high school and stuff. I was like, this guy did it. I can do it.
Very cool.
He's my false prophet in a lot of ways, Kevin Smith. By like,
I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, for me, I grew up in a very small town in just south of Montreal. So I grew up watching Disney movies, didn't really realize that acting was a thing. And I just kind of fell into it in high school. I was always performing, you know, dancing, doing a equestrian competition, that kind of stuff. And then they started an arts program at my high school when I had 2 years left. And I did my first play, and I realized that you could study and this was a job and a career path. And I was just hooked. Like I never looked back. So yeah, for me, it was just kind of, I guess, being on stage that made me realize I really wanted to do this.
Very cool. Now it's the old joke, but I guess, Sarah, my next question is for you. there's always the joke of the actors who want to direct. Does being married to one make you want to direct even more? Or does it push you sort of in the other direction?
That's a good question. I think I ebb and flow through that, because I do see the amount of work that goes into directing. And I mean, Gavin also wears many hats when he is involved in a project. So I do see it from that aspect. I guess I don't know what it's like to live with a director for hire, because maybe that would be more appealing.
I think I can answer this in part that yes, you are interested in directing something. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily want to produce and have all of those things.
Yeah, like I like producing, but yeah, I mean, I definitely do want to direct in the future, and it's awesome because I get to learn so much just by, being by Gavin's side.
Sarah was a producer on our film Scarehouse. Sarah produced a movie called Ben's at Home in Toronto that was done as like $1,000 feature film challenge. So
it was my first time producing something.
I would say very confidently that Sarah Booth can produce movies if she can get a feature done for $1,000.
Yeah, lots of favors.
Now, I mean, going forward for both of you, like, what is the ultimate goal? I mean, is it to keep making your own stuff, or if there's a Transformer 7 or a Tomb Raider 3 that someone puts a script on your desk, like, is that like where do you find the balance there?
It's a Star Wars project. My ultimate goal before I die is to have directed one episode, 1 second unit scene. I'll settle for playing a stormtrooper in the background. Yeah, I mean that would be the ultimate. And I think it's like, again, it's a lofty, far-fetched goal, but again, everything in my life I've been told has been impossible to even get to this point. So why settle now, or why lower my aim? I for years since high school said I want to be the first director to direct a scene in outer space, actual outer space.
Missed out on that.
Now Doug Liman and Tom Cruise are stealing that from me. So I've either got to catch up much faster to live up to my dreams. But I feel with Star Wars, it was like, well, George Lucas directs Star Wars, but then 2015, all these shows are like, there's actually a possibility that if I make the shift into television ever, that I could be, and we know people involved in producing and casting and part of those projects. So like, it's not nothing's unrealistic if you want to work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I definitely want to continue making our independent projects. I think those projects feed our souls. It's really what we want to do. And the bigger projects are great because then you can create more of a name for yourself, which helps fund your babies that you want to make. So I think finding that balance is important, keeping up with the commercial stuff, but also using some of that commercial stuff to boost your indie projects.
Well, and it's so important these days too, just given the glut of content out there and the demand there is just for almost anything and everything. You really do have to have sort of a foot in both ponds, as it were, to sort of develop your own stuff. But hey, I get to go 2 or 3 days on this big show. Fantastic. See you in a bit.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's you really got to find that balance. And
and most of the time too, when you do book something big, if you are a hot commodity right away, they'll be like, so what do you want to do next? And you have to have those answers or else you're going to miss your shot,
You're the guy with the Netflix pillow in the background. So you have more pull with the people that I would want to direct for or be financed by. You have 2 Netflix pillows.
But you know what? I mean, I think that's it for me, guys, because I mean, I'm really sort of enamored with the good work you guys are doing and trying to sort of build up the independent side of things and make interesting projects, but at the same time, get traction on the commercial side and sort of keep that going at the same time. And it's an important thing to sort of do both and not lose focus of either or.
I've been very fortunate that not every, but most projects I've done have always at least led to the next opportunity. Or, even yesterday, I got a message from somebody that I really respect that wrote a beautiful movie that went to Sundance in 2014, like raving about Last Call, that he had seen it. And I'm just like, okay, that's a connection and a screenwriter that I love, that now I'm like, what else have you written? Like, what is there anything we could ever talk about collaborating on if you like my work? And like, those are the kind of things you can never see coming, and you shouldn't try to anticipate. Like the minute you say, like I joked when I was young, like we made a movie, we go to Sundance, we win it, that's it, our lives changed. Miramax buys our movie, everything's gold, you have to be satisfied in knowing that you made something you liked, and It's fine to do jobs just straight up for the paycheck. I mean, we're all guilty of that, and that's what keeps the rent paid and the lights on. But I do find that every project I do that is the creative thing I want to do, even if it doesn't, open worldwide and it's not, number one on Netflix or whatever it is, it's partnering with the right, distributors. It's all of the reviewers and people willing to interview us. Like all of that, it's like an army. It's just moving your soldiers forward little by little, battalion by battalion, until maybe one day you get to win the war.
Well, you know what? I think this film is definitely a step in the right direction for you both, and just congratulations again, and thanks so much for the time, guys.
Tell all of your friends.
Yeah.
February 23rd, North America, available on most platforms that you can watch movies, and DVD and Blu-ray. There,
You got it. Bye, guys.
Thanks so
Bye,
much.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.